What's going on, everybody? KG here. So, I wanted to talk about the LG G5 today because there's a lot of controversy around this TV, whether or not this TV should have came in fourth place at the TV shootout, and really, is it as bad as everybody's saying it is? And is it a good gaming TV? Because gaming really wasn't talked about at the shootout because they don't evaluate that at the TV shootout. I wanted to say this, it will be very hard to run a gaming shootout, so don't ask for it. Probably never going to happen. The best you can get is a four-way comparison from me. Personally, that's all I could give you. But when it comes down to the G5, is it a good TV for gaming? The answer is kind of. Mostly. Yes. It depends if you watch normal TV or not, because yeah, the real issues are real with the G5. They're definitely real. They're not something that is just kind of fabricated or made up out of thin air. These are some real issues. With that said, I did make sure that the thumbnail was related to gaming because we are going to talk mostly about gaming with the G5 today. But we'll talk a little bit about outside of game mode because I do think that has to factor in if you're buying a TV for gaming, because not all you guys are going to buy it just for gaming. We have to talk about the implications outside of game mode as well. Think of this as like a little mini G5 review before we actually do the full review. But this is kind of like after seeing it side by side next to all the TVs, what do I think about it? And also kind of giving you a chance to vent in the comment section about the G5. Is it worse than you thought? Is it better than you thought? Did you buy the G5? I want to hear your thoughts. If you have the G5, is this stuff overblown? Or were you thinking about buying a G5 and you're now thinking that you're going to go a different direction because of all the negativity surrounding the G5? This is the kind of feedback I'm looking for from you. And, ultimately, is it possible that the worst TV from the shootout is actually the best TV that you can buy for gaming? Is that possible? It may be. So let me talk about why that is, and the reason why I feel that is for a lot of people is because it's going to be a process of elimination when it comes down to game mode and gaming on these TVs. And in case you are wondering, I am playing Wu Chang today, and this is the first time I've played this game, so please be easy on me. I'm going to die a lot, especially since I'm talking to you guys about the G5 and I'm trying to play the game at the same time. It's definitely going to be a kind of a hard task, but hopefully the gameplay is not too bad for you guys and you have a fun experience here. Well, let's talk about the G5. First of all, you may want 165 Hz. That's only available on two TVs for OLEDs, and that's going to be the G5 and the S95F. If you do not like this screen coating on the S95F, automatically the S95F is ruled out of the equation and all that's left is the G5. So let's say you don't mind that coating. Well, then the S95F is definitely going to be the better gaming TV of these two, and it's also the better overall TV of these two. So I think that does play a big part in the pick as well, because yeah, the S95F outside of game mode is probably one of the most flawless TVs you could find in terms of what the TV is delivering for you. In the picture anomalies and the picture artifacts, they're just few and far between. You're not going to see a lot of that where you're going to see a lot of that with the G5. However, this is all assuming under the operation that you're going to get HGIG with your TV for the Samsung. Yes, they did kind of have some shenanigans with that. There's a process going on with that, but let's just assume that they're going to have HGIG when we're talking about it here. Because if they're not, then you absolutely cannot consider the S95F unless you don't care about HGIG, of course. So basically, if you're fine with the screen coating, get the S95F as long as it has HGIG and that's what you want. If not, then you're going to have to look a different route. It's going to be the G5, or you're going to have to drop down to 144 Hz and let the G4 in and the Panasonic Z95B. The game mode on the G5 compared to the Panasonic Z95B, they're pretty neck and neck. I would say that the G5 is going to be better for people that need the refresh rate, of course. But if you're going to be a console gamer or you're going to be locked in at 144 Hz, I do think that the Panasonic Z95B is a better gaming TV. Not only does it get brighter than the G5 in game mode, but it also does deliver less color banding. If you're okay with not having as much brightness, you can also look at the G4, which was a phenomenal gaming TV last year. It does have some of the same problems as the G5 with color banding in mind, but with the outside of game mode being much cleaner than the G5, I do think it's still worth your consideration since it is also cheaper than the G5. Also think that you should probably consider the S90F. That is going to be a glossy screen and it's going to be cheaper than the G5. And if you're going to be a console gamer, then you can look at the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II as well. That is going to probably be better for most people than the G5 in terms of the image quality, though it is not going to be as bright in game mode as the G5. Though if you use brightness preferred, it can get pretty dang close to the G5's brightness in game mode. However, if you're just gaming, the G5 or the S95F is probably the best picks that you can go with. The Z95B is also one that you can think of as well. But when you're looking at outside of game mode, you have to consider if you're going to be doing a lot of things outside of gaming, because let's face it, we're not just gaming on these TVs. Some of you guys are, but I'm not just gaming on these TVs. I'm watching a lot of movies. I'm watching a lot of TV shows. So when we're looking at these TVs, I do evaluate everything. And game mode picture quality is going to be pretty good for the LG G5 for the most part, except for one thing, and that is going to be color banding. Color banding is going to be a nightmare sometimes, but in the most cases, you probably won't run into too much color banding, though it is there, and when you see it, it's not a pleasant thing. But that color banding also exists outside of game mode as well, so if you're watching movies or TV shows, you're gonna run into color banding there too. Unless they fix this TV, I don't expect much to change. This is kind of how LG has been in the past. They're not really strong when it comes down to processing with the color in mind. They do kind of break down, especially when you get to those gradients in HDR10. Gaming has always been a mess in terms of that, and you cannot use smooth gradation in game mode. You can try, but it doesn't work. You can engage the feature, but it just doesn't work. And it's been like this for 4 years, and I think it has to be called out to LG that this is some bull. You know, it needs to be fixed because we've been talking about this for 4 years. I even made a video back in 2021 talking about color banding as an issue on OLED TVs. I showed the A80J and I showed the LG Z1, but I showed the A80J had a solution for it called smooth gradation. It worked. And LG had this too. It doesn't even work. So that's the thing. What it looks like it's functional, but it doesn't work. It's just kind of false hope, and unfortunately, people may think it's working, but it's not. It never worked. So that's the thing. In game mode, it's turned off for whatever reason, and that's the problem. So other than color banding, is there any issues with the LG G5 in game mode? It's really kind of nitpicking stuff. I really don't think there is. There's nothing new here with the G5 from the G4. There's not any new gaming features that's making you say wow, other than the actual refresh rate, which is going to be 165 Hz VRR gaming like we've talked about. But other than that, there's not much here. It's brighter than the G4, but it's not brighter by a ton in game mode. And you could use filmmaker mode to get it to be a little bit brighter, but it's really not that noticeable from the filmmaker mode to the game mode. I really think that if you want a super bright gaming TV that's always going to be pretty consistent, it's going to be the S95F. Overall, man, I am very disappointed with the G5, no doubt about it, but the G5 is still a very good gaming TV. That said, unless you're just gaming, I would skip the G5 this year. Unless they do some sort of firmware that just completely fixes every issue the G5 has, I do think the other TVs are just flat out better. But that's all the yapping I got for you guys today. If you want to keep watching videos from me, I have a comparison of the G5 versus all the other flagship OLED TVs that you're definitely going to want to check out right here. And soon you'll see a comparison with all the gaming for those flagships right next to it. Stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.